Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is Saturday, March 8th, 2025. We are building up to a very, very powerful total lunar eclipse that will occur on March 13th or the 14th, depending on where you live. It will occur at 11:54 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time and on March 14th at 2:54 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 23 degrees and 56 minutes of the mutable earth sign of Virgo. And this is a really big deal. We are in a very emotional, confusing, and intuitive time. There is a pileup of points in Pisces. We are in Pisces season when things can get very confusing, can become nonverbal and intuitive, but heavy emotions. We've got Saturn is now, all the points in Pisces are at the final decan of Pisces, which means the last 10 degrees. And Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, and it's a sign of endings, among many other things. It's also the sign of imagination and dreams and compassion and intuition and empathy and psychic ability. Very powerful dreams and psychic intuition is accessible to all of us right now. But we also have a lot of emphasis on Aries. And Aries is a cardinal fire sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It wants to charge ahead. It wants to get things going. It's impatient, but it's ready to make it happen. It's really ready to initiate new beginnings. And as eclipses always bring us change, they occur once every 6 months and they come in pairs. Sometimes we have three eclipses in a really powerful year when there's a lot of change. But this time, as usual, we have two eclipses. We're going to have a total lunar eclipse on the 14th and a solar eclipse in Aries on the 29th. But let me I'm all foggy myself and I haven't been sleeping well, and many are complaining that they're not sleeping well. I know it's the day before daylight saving, so good luck to us. But you have with Pisces, it rules the part of the brain, it rules the subconscious, it rules dreams and imagination. But you need sleep, you need rest. It's the final sign, it's a sign of endings, it's a sign of release and self care. And with this, we have Saturn now the day of the eclipse, it will be meeting. Saturn's going to meet up with the sun in Virgo the day before the eclipse on the 12th. And that is a day of reckoning. Saturn is like the judgment card, and that's a reality check. Unlike when the sun meets up with Neptune, which will happen, that's when things become foggy, and Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. Saturn is saying, are you doing what's in line with what you're meant to be building? Are you heeding the lessons? Are you working within restrictions? Are you working hard? Are you being realistic? Pisces is a great creative, it's a creative genius as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's such a creative sign. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces, which, is really good for manifesting and tapping into hope and just really expanding that creativity. Then you have a total lunar eclipse, a full moon on steroids, which is in the opposite sign of Virgo, ruled by Mercury. Well, Mercury is trailblazing ahead, I cannot speak, in the sign of Aries, but it's already entered its shadow on the day that Venus retrograded, which is on March 1st. Venus retrograded on that date at 10 degrees and 50 minutes of Aries. Mercury entered its shadow when it got to 26 degrees, almost 27 of Pisces, because Mercury will retrograde the day after the lunar eclipse. It's going to retrograde on March 15th at 9 degrees and 36 minutes of Aries rather. And that is close to where Venus retrograded. It's very close to where the last eclipse in the Aries Libra axis will occur on March 29th. We're going to have a solar eclipse on the 29th at 9 degrees of Aries. Change is in the air. There are a lot of major endings in that we're in Pisces season. The lunar eclipses bring major life events. They bring major endings, major beginnings. They bring moves. They shake us up and they wake us up out of complacency. They are very revealing. They bring things to light and they make us see things in a way that we never have before. And with Mercury retrograding the day after the eclipse in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, it retrogrades in Aries, but like Venus, it takes its cue from Venus. It's going to retrograde close in degree. Venus retrograded at 10 degrees and 50 minutes. Mercury will retrograde at 9 degrees and 36 minutes of Aries. Both dip back into Pisces. Venus dips back into Pisces on March 27th at the last degree of Pisces, 29 degrees, where Neptune is currently transiting. Very loving. Venus is exalted and beautiful in Pisces, but could be letdowns, disappointments, things getting dissolved. Neptune dissolves things. Again, it's the final sign. And we're preparing. Also, a lunar eclipse is a culmination. It's a release point. It's completion. Now, there can be major beginnings with lunar eclipses and major endings with solar eclipses. Eclipses are wild cards. We know a lot is happening in a very short period of time, but you don't know exactly how it's going to pan out. Like Uranus transits, you know what area of your chart it occurs in. And if you don't, you can email me your birth information with date and year if I have not heard from you before, and I will email you back and tell you where this lunar eclipse in Virgo occurs. That's an area where you're reaching culmination, where a lot is happening, where you should focus on releasing that which is keeping you from doing what you need to do. Both Virgo and Pisces love to help other people, but a lot of this now, and this leads me a little bit, well, I'm going in different directions because I just want to say that then Mercury is going to dip back into Pisces on March 29th, which is the day of the eclipse in Aries, the final eclipse in Aries. A new moon eclipse, new beginnings, initiating new things in your life. If there's something you want to launch right now, well, two personal planets retrograde mid-month, Mercury already being in its shadow. I wouldn't mind so much if Mercury were retrograde because it happens 3 times a year. Venus is once every 18 months. And it's during eclipse season in which if something lands in your lap, if something comes to you, a big opportunity, well, the nodes of karma are very close. These are fated opportunities. Seize it for sure. But if not, if you want to launch something, if you want to get a new job, if you have your own business and you plan on launching campaigns, wait until after the eclipse season, which really would be the full moon that follows the solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th. That would be 2 weeks after that. And really, Venus doesn't clear its shadow for a while. Mars just stationed direct. This is the thing. We have a month of so much change, yet the planets are moving really slowly. And we have 2 that are retrograde, but Mars was retrograde for almost the first 2 months of the year. And Mars rules the sign of Aries in modern astrology. It also rules Scorpio and ancient, but we're focusing on the Aries Pisces story here because they're in the spotlight. And we're going to eventually get to the equinox on the 20th. That's really not far away. And that is a time of honoring the season ahead. In the northern hemisphere, it's the spring season. In the southern hemisphere, it's the fall season. And this is a time that you are planning what you want to achieve. It's the beginning of the astrological new year. It's a time of new beginnings. What do you want to make happen and catalyze in your life? And yet, with Venus in review, you don't want to make a big purchase or investment, ideally. You want to rethink your spending habits. You want to rethink your value, what you're valuing, how you're being valued, your self worth. You want to focus on how you can be more creative and how you can find more joy in this very broken world. With Mercury retrograde, that happens 3 times a year. Yes, it's not an ideal time for signing contracts and buying things, but sometimes, I mean, I remember at one point I used to have computers break down on Mercury retrograde. I'd have to buy a new one because I'd have no choice. And so, I mean, I wouldn't plan to buy one during a retrograde, but when you don't have a computer, what are you going to do? So that's not as big of a deal. Everybody always emphasizes Mercury retrograde, and it can be, but Venus is a bigger deal. Mars is still really close to where it's stationed direct at 17 degrees and 1 minute of Cancer. Mars is going to be in Cancer through April 18th, and it moves slowly, and that's how we get going. And so that's not great. And then, Jupiter stationed in the beginning of February, but that's still moving slowly. The planets aren't really moving very quickly. So we've got all this change, and then we've got stagnancy and reflection. And Mars out of bounds means that people are going to lose it, be more impulsive. And this is where I do want to talk about, is that the mental health portion of all of this. I have talked about the fixed star Shiat. I will probably talk about it every video in the next few videos, because we're in eclipse season in which many things happen in a very short period of time, and it can feel out of control and just like a frenzy. It can feel like the Tower card. And so Neptune is now again at the final degree of Pisces. And with that, that's a fixed star known as Shiat. It can be connected with suicide, misfortune, and self undoing. Last year, Neptune transited at this degree from May 4th through September 4th. And at that time, during the very beginning part, from let's say the end of May through early July, I heard from 3 clients about suicide. Not that I knew the person directly, but the clients that told me I know pretty well, and that impacted them very strongly. Now, Neptune got to this degree again on March 4th, and there were more public suicides in the last few days. There was the band Faster Pussycat, and unfortunately, the lead singer's girlfriend jumped off the ship. And then David Hasselhoff, his ex-wife, also took her life. And those are people that none of us, well, most of us don't know, of course, but a lot of people do. Obviously, that's somebody's sister or whatever. I'm not getting into it. So with that, this is a time to focus what's happening on the world stage, because that can mirror what's happening in your own life. I know somebody that's in a very precarious situation right now that does not have a lot of security or safety. There could be a lot more homelessness right now. That's another thing with Pisces. And we're getting to the last degrees of Pisces. I'm going to talk more about the lunar eclipse, but in the lunar eclipse chart, you've got a pile up of Pisces. You've got Saturn at 22 degrees of Pisces, with the sun at 23 degrees of Pisces. The north node of karma, where you're meant to be going towards, which is creativity and dreams and imagination and diving and delving into healing modalities. That will be at 27 degrees of Pisces. And and Neptune now is at the last degree of the zodiac wheel at 29 degrees of Pisces. Again, the Sun and Saturn meet up the day before the eclipse, giving us all a reality check. Could be challenging for sure, but we want Saturn to ground us. Pisces is anything but grounded, which is why it's kind of funny that Saturn is in its fall position in Aries and it's not in a challenging position in Pisces, because I find when Saturn is in Pisces, it's very difficult. And also, people I know that have it have a lot of challenges with depression and addiction and such. So, anyway, that is a big theme. Check in with people you know are struggling, check in with yourself. We've got in this eclipse chart, there's also a big focus in Aries, because, Venus retrograded on March 1st, the day that Mercury entered its shadow. And Venus and Mercury meet up together in the sky at 9 degrees of Aries on the 11th of March, the day before Sun and Saturn, and the 2 days before the eclipse starts. That all that energy, although we're all really feeling it. And Mercury Venus is a nice combo, and they'll meet up again because they're kind of both going back and forth with, you know, again, they both retrograded close in degree in Aries, and they're both going to station. Mercury will station on April 7th at 26 degrees and 49 minutes of Pisces. Venus is a longer retrograde, it's a longer transit. Venus stations direct on April 12th at 24 degrees and 38 minutes of Pisces. Very close to opposing this lunar eclipse, this big, powerful whopper of an eclipse. What information is coming up for you in your thoughts, in your dreams, in songs you hear that trigger things? Are you hearing from your ghost from the past? Are you literally hearing from them? Are you thinking about them? Are things reminding you of them, or unhealed lessons that you need to dive into? Chiron, the wounded healer, is at 21 degrees of Aries, and Mars is going to square Chiron on the 26th of March. So that's building up too. And Chiron's close to the world point, emphasizing the need to heal. And so there is so much with this. But the thing I want to point out is that Uranus, which is also moving really slowly, it's stationed direct at the end of January on the 30th, but it's still, moving really slowly. Uranus trines the moon in Virgo. That's when they're 120 degrees apart. That's lovely. And it also forms what's known as a sextile. That's an aspect of opportunity to the Sun in Pisces, and also to the North Node and to Neptune and to all of those points. But this brings an aspect. What does Uranus represent? Enlightenment and change, and so do eclipses. This is going to be a very, very big time. Ground with your crystals, sing, chant. Listening to music during Pisces season is an amazing thing to do. And again, we're going to have Mercury in Pisces for a while longer, and it's going to be in Pisces through April 16th. And that it'll dive back into Pisces on March 27th, which now is a little while away. But we have a lot of Pisces energy. Good luck. Remember that Neptune met up with the North Node of Karma at 28 degrees of Pisces on February 7th. And Saturn will take a different spin. They're going to meet up together, Saturn and the North Node, on April 21st. When Neptune met up with the North Node, it was at 28 degrees of Pisces. That is conjunct Shiat. You can give about a 2-degree orb to Shiat. Shiat being that fixed star connected with misfortune, but also with empaths and artists and creative people. I know people that have that in their chart, and they're incredibly altruistic and creative and kind. Good luck. There's so much happening. Pay attention to all of the messages. Journal your dreams. write down some world affairs because we can forget even like news stories. I mean, obviously the big news stories, but like I saw this woman in the news about a week ago, I believe, in Virginia, jump on somebody's car and start slamming on the person's window and broke the windshield wiper, and obviously had mental health issues. And again, that's really kind of Aries Pisces. Mars is out of bounds and it rules Aries, and we've got Mercury and Venus in Aries, and she was really charged up. And then the mental health component, which is really all the Pisces. And know that Mars will be out of bounds through April 7th when Mercury goes direct. So things are still heated up. Good luck, take care, and I will talk to you soon.